Hello and welcome to the Ridiculously Good VA Show with Tracy Daviero. If you are a virtual assistant or want to be one, this is the place to learn the tips and tricks you need to become a ridiculously good VA. I've been a part of the VA industry since 1998, and I'm excited to get to know you and help you build an amazing business. Let's go. Hey there, welcome to another episode of the podcast that teaches you how to be a ridiculously good virtual assistant. If you are struggling and need some guidance and strategy to move your VA business forward, the Virtual Circle is where you should be. My monthly group coaching mastermind gives you the training, guidance, support, advice, and community that you need to be the VA that you know you can be. Join us today at yourvamentor.com/TVC, as in the Virtual Circle. Today I want to talk about being your client's partner, not just their assistant. The difference isn't in the title, it's in the way you work with them. Today's quote is from Mariska Hargitay. You have to see yourself as equal to everyone, no matter what. I love it. No, we don't do what our clients do. We do something different than they do. But we aren't less than they are. We're just different. Let's go. Today, we're diving into an essential mindset shift for every VA out there, realizing that you are your client's equal, not just their assistant. You're their partner. This episode is all about empowerment, confidence, and understanding your true value in the VA-client relationship. Let's go. The traditional VA mindset. For many VAs, especially those just starting out, it's easy to fall into the mindset of being just an assistant. It's in the name itself, right? This often stems from the traditional view of assistants as support staff. They're there to handle the mundane tasks while the client focuses on the more important work. Can you see my air quotes? It's not the way it is when you become a VA, a virtual assistant. I always like to think of it as the descriptor, the word assistant, so that people can identify who you are, like when you call yourself a consultant or a bookkeeper or a marketer or a mechanic. When you say you're an assistant, people just understand it. They get a sense of what you do. Except now you're virtual, so you don't work in the other person's office. Virtual assistant. If you need it defined further, right? You are someone who provides administrative support of some kind from your own office. That's what virtual assistant means to me. But the mindset of being just someone's assistant can really hold you back. Why is this mindset so common? The term itself, assistant, implies a secondary role. In a corporate job, there was always a boss and there was always an assistant. The assistant always made less money and did whatever tasks the boss needed. But in the VA world, it is different. You are a business owner helping another business owner. Many VAs also start with basic admin as their services, and then they think at some point they want to grow into something different, something bigger, something better. They think that general admin is the stuff that people do when they start as a VA. And when we think like that, sometimes our clients do as well. But the fact is that you can specialize at general admin forever and make a really good living. It's not our clients' fault that they think of us as their boss. If they're thinking that, you're probably acting like their employee or their subordinate. In order to flip that thought process, you have to show up and be proactive. You have to act like a business owner. You have to act like their colleague. You have to act like their partner. Not even act like it. You are their colleague. You are their partner. We all get the sense that our clients know more than we do, that they're smarter or they're more successful than we are. I think this comes down to the fact that they charge more than we do, right? I mean, we need to find clients who earn more than we do so that they can afford to pay us. But often that makes us feel as though they know better than we do. But they don't know admin better than we do. They don't know social media better than we do. They don't know podcast production better than we do. No matter what your service offerings are, your client offers their clients something completely different than you. Maybe they're a coach or a trainer or an accountant or a consultant or a C-suite entrepreneur. That's what they know how to do better than anything, and that's what they are building their business around. Trust me, it's not our work. They don't specialize in administration. That's what we specialize in. Never forget that you're an administrative specialist. That's why you're starting a VA business around that skill, to bring that service to the clients who need it. And we have to first believe ourselves that we're not less than our clients, that we can act appropriately. I've had clients treat me like their assistant, as I'm sure you have, but it's because I was being a task taker. I was asking them a lot of questions all the time and making them the gatekeeper of all the decisions around the work that we did together. When I learned not to do that and to trust my own instincts, I became their ally, their partner. And that's the goal. You can fill a role of an assistant without being beneath your client. Let's talk about this a little deeper. The reality of your role. As a virtual assistant, you bring tons of value to your client's business. You are a crucial part of their business and their success. Without your support, many of their tasks would go undone, and they would be overwhelmed trying to juggle everything that needs to be done. Your expertise, we already talked about this a little bit. You have specific skills and knowledge that your client either lacks or doesn't have time to develop. And this makes you an expert in your own right. Never, ever forget this. You are an expert. When we view ourselves as what we are, it goes a long way to others seeing the same thing. In terms of time management, we all know that we free up a lot of our clients' time. We talk about it all the time. I'll save you time, I'll save you money. But we do this so that our clients can focus on their actual business activities. I call these revenue generating tasks. Their business grows when they can focus on generating revenue, right? What are revenue generating tasks? Working with clients and finding new clients. 2 things. That's it. Sometimes we can also maybe throw in business development as well, which means figuring out how to get new clients, creating a new strategy, taking, some training to learn how to do something new, to maybe they're going to start becoming a podcaster, maybe they're going to start creating courses, maybe they're going to run group events, that kind of thing. So that is probably the only other thing that I would say our clients should be doing. They're the things that they specialize in, right? That's what they should be focused on. Everything else they should be getting help with. Now, naturally, when they first start their business, they won't pay for help with everything, but at some point they are going to need it. It's going to be a smart decision. And so that's what we want to refer to. We want to help with a lot of the other things that they need to do. By doing so, we save our clients a lot of time of their own. And yes, it does cost them money to buy our time. So therefore, it's our responsibility as an excellent VA, or a ridiculously good one, to figure out ways to manage our time, and sometimes even our clients' time, as efficiently as possible. I tell the story of a VA that I once hired for a 10-hour project. It was supposed to be a research project where she was finding contact info for me for some people to connect with about teaching. 10 hours was a sufficient budget, we figured. I knew, because I'm good at time management. I've also done a lot of research before, but she also agreed to it. She was to grab the info, put it into a spreadsheet, and then she was going to make the initial contact with people and only pass along those that were interested in talking with me to me. Sounds like a good plan, right? We set up a shareable Google Sheet so that she could simply drop the info into it. I actually think I set that up. So she could drop the info into it as she went along. And then, of course, I could see all the info easily when she was finished. It was a one-time project, 10 hours. Great. After a week, or maybe even 2, I think it was like 10 days-ish, there was no info in the spreadsheet, and I had not heard from her at all. So I reached out. What's going on? She said she was having difficulty with the project. She wasn't finding good contact info. I said, no problem. Let's figure out what the block is and fix it, because it was the information. I was looking for the information, so I kind of knew what I was looking for, and I could guide the project in that way. But she told me in the same conversation that she had already spent 8 hours doing research, and I didn't see anything at all in this spreadsheet. 8 hours of the 10-hour project. Seriously. Okay, jump to the end of this story. This was essentially a waste of my money because I didn't get nearly enough information. The VA should have been more mindful of her time, which was my money, and she should have checked in after 2 hours of not getting what she needed. I always make that, or I always give that advice to VAs. I say, if you're doing a project for research, check in after 2 hours and at least let the client know how it's going. It's going well, it's not going well. There's only two ways it can go. And I always think this is really good practice, especially when you have a budget. This wasn't an open-ended task. This was 10 hours start to finish. Let's see what we can do. And so, it's not 8 hours doing research and 2 hours contacting people. Of course, we need to manage our time better. Now, could I have done this research myself? Absolutely. Could I have filled in the spreadsheet? Yes, I could have. Could I have made the initial contact with people? Absolutely. Of course I could do that. But I was paying her to do those initial steps. I should have only needed to talk to the prospects that were qualified. And that was the intention of investing in this project, to have somebody get me to that point. After the end of my 10 hours, then I had qualified prospects. Even if I didn't have them all, she could have, gotten in touch with half of them. And then we could have made that decision to say, okay, let's add another 5 hours and you do some more initial contact for me. And that was always sort of in the background. But you see how we can be really valuable to our clients when we do things well. I'm not upset with this VA. Obviously, there was a communication breakdown. I do tell this story a lot, but it's to point out that we have a responsibility to our clients when we're using their money for our time. And yes, we are, doing something that sometimes is open-ended, and there are some things that go wrong, but it's about communication that is going to help you manage that time and that budget better. And in this case, she didn't only waste my budget, but she also cost me 2 weeks of time because she didn't even reach out to me. I actually had to reach out to her when I hadn't heard from her. So that was a big fail. And this is such an easy way to lose your client's trust and then get treated as a subordinate. I certainly did not feel like she was an expert at what I needed her to do. It wasn't a lot of expertise involved. The communication was the expertise that I needed from her. Sometimes we do research and we don't get good prospects, and that's okay. All she had to do was communicate that to me so that I could then make the decision on what to do with the rest of the budget. If I knew that she had 20 names, I could have said, okay, let's start reaching out to these people. I didn't get to that, But that is exactly how you can start to be seen as a subordinate, is if you're not making those proactive decisions, if you're not communicating well, ghosting people, and then not delivering what you said that you could deliver. All this VA had to do was reach out after 2 hours and say, hey, I'm not getting what I need. What do you suggest? And we could have had a discussion about it. It doesn't mean that the project would have changed, but not being able to control anything by the time 80% of the budget was spent was a real challenge. And things, like I say, sometimes things take longer than we expect. But when you price the whole project at 10 hours, you can't leave the client wondering when you've used 80% of the budget and things are not done. That's really what gives VAs a bad rap. So be professional, manage your time well, and therefore manage your client's money as well. Doing that is just going to go a long way in your clients feeling that you're much more than just the help, right? And that's what we're trying to do. We are their partner. Shifting your mindset. So how do you shift your mindset from being just an assistant to being an equal partner? Number one is acknowledge your own value. Like I've already said, and I say all the time, recognize and appreciate the skills and expertise that you bring to the table. There are plenty. If you need to, make a list of those strengths and the ways that you have positively impacted your clients or your colleagues or anybody you've worked with in the past. I always like to suggest keeping a success journal, but anything you can do to remind yourself daily that you are very worthy of your client's respect, that helps you build that up in your mind as well. And that helps you push that mindset to a positive place all the time, because you're going to believe it when you hear it all the time. Next is setting boundaries. This is something I still just don't see enough VAs doing well. If you act like their employee or their assistant, that's how you can expect to be treated. Setting boundaries is a really key way to be proactive and to act like the professional business owner that you are. Things like business hours and response times, lead times for work are pretty easy to set and keep. But think about other things like communication, like I already talked about, and your scope of work. Those are the next steps in terms of setting boundaries. Likely the scope of work is the hardest thing to set a boundary for. It's one of those things that I see a lot of VAs struggle with because you are their assistant. You find it hard to say no to any request that they send along. I need this done. I need this done. I need this done. But you have to. If there's something that isn't currently accounted for in your detailed scope of work in your contract, I'm going to pause dramatically here because you need a detailed scope of work in your contract. Dramatic pause over. You have to add it if they request a new thing. So maybe that means a change order, maybe that means changing what you have in your contract, but you have the ability to say yes or no to new work, but it should then be added into your scope because scope creep happens very quickly when we're not paying attention. Okay, getting really clear about what you will do and you won't do for your clients is one of the best ways to escape the assistant label because you are saying no and you're not there to do everything they need. You're there to do things that are within the scope of what you agreed to do and what your abilities are, and frankly, what you want to do because you're a business owner. Your clients have the same ability with their clients, and you want to put yourself on that same level. Next is communicating confidently. This really is one of the number one things that I see as being the issue between clients and VAs. Okay. It comes into your mindset. It comes into your marketing. It comes into the way you do your work, time management, efficiency, all of those kinds of things. Communication is one of the biggest things that if you can master it, or if you can set boundaries around it, if you can make sure that you're doing it as clearly and confidently as possible, you're going to go so much farther in your role as a VA. I always recommend having production calls with your clients to go over the tasks that you're doing for them weekly when possible. But when you are proactive on these calls, meaning that you run them, you're going to reinforce your expertise every single week with your clients. Always speak with confidence, ask thoughtful questions, keep conversations and work on task, and use professional language without trying to be somebody else. But use those words, don't ask the questions and let them be the bottleneck or let them be, the person who makes all the decisions. Let them know what your recommendations are. You don't have to become a strategist. It's totally fine. Communication is not always about that. It's about being clear, right? And striving for good communication is usually the easiest way to elevate your reputation as a VA. Clients love to understand what needs to happen and when it needs to happen. So get in the habit of telling them those things and you're not going to be seen as their subordinate. Next is investing in professional development. Education helps everybody become better at everything that they do. And yet a lot of VAs don't invest in training or coaching or support. It's totally okay. You don't have to in all cases. I mean, if you're a bookkeeper who works with QuickBooks, you might not need to be updating your skills every time you turn around. I don't think education for the sake of education is a good thing to do. And I don't think everybody needs to learn new stuff. If you're a kick-ass virtual EA, you don't have to become a social media expert or an OBM. You don't have to change your specialty. You can still be that thing. But investing in professional development, like attending networking events or trainings for your mindset or for business growth, they can be really, really important for your mindset as well. Many VAs that I know love to learn, but they don't all want to pay for it. And there's lots of good free training out there, I will say. But the more you learn, the more you know. The more you know, the more valuable you become to your clients. And when you feel valuable, you're going to be more confident in your role. It's so obvious to me whenever I'm talking to a virtual assistant who puts themselves first, who invests in time and or money in investing in themselves as a business owner. They grow, they do have the confidence, and they charge more, they get higher level clients, they offer more specialty services, they're generally happier in their business, right? I still love to learn. I think it's important to choose what you want to learn so that you can implement it. I always give you that advice. Getting support when you need it is the big one in terms of getting professional development. Struggling in business is hard. It makes everything harder. Of course, you can learn something and then implement it on your own. Like I say, there's lots of free stuff out there. But we're talking about confidence and value and mindset here today on this episode. And sometimes that boost comes only from working with someone else who can help you push through the obstacles that appear in front of you, the things that stop you from moving forward. I do this every day with VAs. I help them see their value, their strengths. I help them build their confidence, and I help them see the ways around or through the obstacles that are in the way of their success. I want to circle back to today's quote. You have to see yourself as equal to everyone, no matter what. I'm not even sure if she's talking about business, but Mariska Hargitay says this, and I totally agree with it. You are equal. There is no reason to think that you aren't. In some cases, you're even better. Think about this. Has anyone ever given you a compliment for a job well done? If they have, you've exceeded their expectations. She's right, though. To build a strong mindset, you need to see your expertise in yourself. Sometimes it takes other people to tell us and to remind us, but it is up to us to find that inspiration, to find those compliments, to find those words so that we can use them, access them, and use them when we need them. You are your client's partner, not their assistant. Point final, end of story. That's it, that's all. You are. Now you have to start acting like it. I'm going to leave it here for today, but I want to leave you with a couple of final comments. Be your client's partner, not just their assistant. The word assistant is just a word. It's a description of the role you fill. People understand what it is. Don't shy away from using it, but elevate yourself. Elevate your mindset, your language, your communication, and simply be their partner. You are a valuable, skilled professional who plays a critical role in your client's success. Be proactive and show them this value and skill every single day. And shift your own mindset, and your clients will follow. 4 little points, super important. Follow them. By doing so, you're not only going to improve your own confidence and satisfaction, but you're going to elevate the level of service that you provide as well. And elevating what you do is how you become, say it with me, a ridiculously good virtual assistant. If you need help shifting your mindset from assistant to partner, that's where I can help. I'm here to help you become a ridiculously good virtual assistant. I've helped hundreds of VAs who are stuck get moving through my private coaching, my group coaching programs, my self-study trainings. If you're ready to get my help, please connect with me on a cut to the chase call. You can book yours at yourvamentor.com/chase. Thank you so much for tuning in this time. I'll see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Ridiculously Good VA Show. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. For more great resources for your VA business, visit my website at yourvamentor.com. I'll see you back here next time.